Hello everyone, Chris Petri here. Thanks for stopping by. Today let's talk design. This is part of my series on design. When you're working with watercolors, design's essential. Let's say you were to move into a new apartment or a new house and you brought all your belongings in. The question is, what would you do? What would be the first things you do when you bring your new stuff into your new place? Your apartment, your house, wherever you're moving to? You guessed it. Exactly. You're going to take all your belongings, furniture, clothes, TV, whatever it is, and you're going to organize it, design it, put it into the proper places in your place, your new place, and that will be the same principle carried over into artwork. When you're going to create a painting, you're going to look at it as if you have a rectangle. That's your paper, which will eventually be framed in a frame. And that rectangle, everything's happening within that space. So it's important to think about how you're going to put things into that painting to make it look very pleasing, very enjoyable for the viewer, for yourself too as well. So let's get started here. Just going to move these few things here. Now, the question is, where do I begin if I'm thinking about design? Great way. Now, this would be something for landscapes. I do a ton of landscape paintings and seascapes. That's probably my most favorite type of painting to paint. And what I think is great here, what we can do is, I like to take a Sharpie usually and just plan out some ideas before I paint. So let's do that. We're talking design. We're talking today's subject. We'll talk about dimensional step backs in your painting. So I call them. They can be called many things. There's a lot of different books out there, and study videos and so forth. And online you can look up, let's say, three-dimensional ideas for painting, so on and so forth. You'll probably find a lot of great ideas out there. But this one here, we're just going to say if this is our canvas or our watercolor paper, what looks very pleasing and really excellent in a painting, let's say we're doing a landscape or a seascape. Today, let's focus on a landscape painting. Three steps back in the composition. So in the design, we could say we could have some plants, maybe a few flowers here, maybe a rock, a couple rocks here, some grass. Then, so that'd be our first step back, our first area. So this would be, let's say, the foreground. We'll call this the foreground. Then our second step back, let's say we make a small cabin here. Okay, so we have a small cabin. And then let's say all the way in the back we have some mountains there. And then maybe here we have a tree. So this would be the interesting visual perception of three steps back in a painting. So you'd have your foreground with some nice detail here, some grass, maybe some flowers here. Then a short distance from there, that would be your middle ground. We can call this the middle ground. or middle distance. Call it middle distance. And then we could call this third area back here, the mountains, we could call that the far distance. So these 3 steps in a painting gives you a great amount of dimensionality in your composition and in your design. So again, when you're planning your paintings, let's say you go outside and you want to paint something in the outdoors, a nice landscape, a seascape, just having an awareness of the steps back in your painting from the foreground to the middle distance to the far distance, that can bring a lot of really nice impact in your design of your painting. So now I'll just take a little time here and I'll just do a quick sketch in a painting of using the same principle of using 3 steps back in a painting, in a landscape type painting, and we'll see how it looks once we sketch it out and contour draw it actually, and then we'll paint it. And what I'll do is I'll try to just talk out loud as if I'm just sort of thinking while I'm drawing here. So I'm going to get my main subject here. I'm going to do a small, maybe like a small shed. I'm looking at a reference photo across from me, so doing a small shed here and maybe some shadowy type things here. There'll be some sunlight in the picture coming across this way. Maybe a fence in the background, a little fence here. Some more fencing back here. Then maybe we'll have and then we'll just do a nice sidewall there with some windows. Just going to roughly sketch it in. If I was doing a finished painting here, I would take more time and I would really, actually, I wouldn't lift my pencil up off the paper. I would try to do everything very slowly and carefully, but we're just having a 15-minute video here, so I'm going to sort of go a little quicker. This might be something similar to just sketching out an idea on some paper. And some ideas for leaves on the tree here and some branches. And then in the distance, just capture that sort of a mountain in the distance there. That would be our 3rd step back. Maybe some more foliage and some leaves on the tree there. And then we'll go with our foreground, which is the first step back in the painting. Maybe some flowers here. Again, I'm going really quick just to sort of visually give the idea of how I'm arranging the design of my painting. I'm having a nice foreground here with lots of detail, and then working into the middle distance of the painting. shadows here. And just some grass type things here and rocks. Okay, now we'll get into some paint. Okay, and as many times I do, I'll start off with the darks. That sets the kind of tone for the painting, starting off with the darks, let's say. You can do this in the opposite. You can start with lights first and do really light washes first, and then work into the darker washes, or you can. So it's just a matter of using different techniques. I like to try all different techniques, and I find that this really works great just doing the darks first. Again, I'm doing a quick sketch here, and this is going to be quite impressionistic here, this painting, this quick sketch, this composition and design. So I'm going to just rough things in, kind of. Sometimes this works great, just going real quick and getting some really neat ideas out on the paper. And more okay, I'll work into some greens for the trees a little bit. And I'm just going to do, I'm just going to quickly okay, that's sort of the mountains in the back.